With the 2024 season wrapped up and concluded, there's only one logical thing to do now. Let us rate the races as well as the drivers from this amazing 2024 season. I'm including races here because not only has it been highly requested from you guys, but also because there's been some very entertaining races this season and I don't want to not mention them, so here they are included. But before we get to ranking, let me explain how this is going to go. The races and the drivers will get a score from 1 through 10, with 1 being pure garbage and 10 being pure perfection. I'll also give quick summaries on how the races went in case you forgot, and I'll also briefly explain why a driver got the score they did. This video can also serve as a winners and losers from the entire 2024 season, with 1 through 4 being a loser, 7 through 10 being a winner, and 5 and 6 serving as mid. Also, alongside my score will be a percentage of your guys' scores too, since there was Google Forms for you to fill out so we can compare our scores as we go along. And yes, before you think it's exactly like what Tomo does, so credit to him for this sort of idea. But I will be a little different, since at the end I'll also give quick and lighthearted awards to certain drivers. So now let's get to ranking. But before we do, make sure to join the Discord for good fun and being more a part of my community. Also, subscribe if you're new if you have a gaping void in your soul now that F1 is gone. So enough yapping, and here are my 2024 Formula 1 season ratings. Let's begin with the race ratings, and we started in Bahrain, and this race saw very little action, which made everyone believe that this season was going to be another Verstappen season, but of course, we know better. Anyways, Max won by a light year, and the best battle on track was Charles against his brakes, so my score is a 5. Not good, but not the absolute worst. And as for you guys, it seems that 25% of y'all agree with the 5 too, so yeah. Mid. Now for our next race, Jeddah. Of course, there was the news of Sainz's rear end being impaled by James AEIOU, which took him out of the race. Someone's not experienced. So his replacement was Ollie Behrman, and he did great. Besides that, the race itself was also pretty good in my opinion, since there were some really good battles, especially with Kevin Bin Laden. So yeah, I give it a nice chill 7, while you guys were more harsh. Another 5? Seriously? I mean, yeah, it was boring, but like, come on now, the driving was pretty funny. Now for Melbourne, the beginning of the end. Max's brake would break, and because the brake braked, it broke the chokehold Max had on P1, which allowed Ferrari's first 1-2 of the season with Sainz as the winner. Even though we finally saw someone not named Max Verstappen win again, the race itself was pretty dull with little action until the end, where Woody got scared by Mr. Eyebrows and shit himself. So I give this one another 5 that totally isn't influenced by Ferrari. Well, actually, I guess not influenced enough, since you guys gave it a 7. Maybe I was tired, but I don't remember much action in this one, so maybe you do know better. Now for Japan, which has really moved up the calendar, and I really like this one. We saw great overtakes and good action, even though there was nothing towards the top, so I give it a cool 7, while you guys gave it your old reliable 5. Starting to think we like 5s and 7s. Now for China, and this was the only race I missed this season, since no way I'm waking up at like 2 a.m. So I could only go off the highlights, but it seemed to be weird and boring all the same. So I think a 6 is fitting from what I've seen, and from what you've seen, you guessed it, another damn 5. Miami time, and as we know, the tides shifted here. The race looked to be same old. However, the upgrades McLaren brought were ridiculous, since their race pace rivaled Red Bull's, and with Lando Norris, they took home the dub, which was also helped by a cone Max ran over, which I guess obliterated his floor. Plus, there was decent action, especially with Piastri and Sainz, so I give Miami a nice 7, and so do you guys. Finally, we're on the same page again. Now for Imola, and if you put a gun to my head and told me to recite anything from this race before the final 11 laps,
gun would go off.
Besides Checo return to form, absolutely nothing happened, so I give this sticky one a 4. You guys, however, another 7. Jesus man, what are we in Vegas or something? Speaking of obnoxious rich cities, Monaco time, and this video sums up me watching it. No amount of anxiety lap after lap is enough to keep me awake, so this one gets a 1 and you guys agree too. Now for Canada, and this race was the calendar's first true banger in my opinion. We had Kevin Magnussen rushing through the field, Albon's big untrimmed balls hanging, Sargoat Masterclass, and of course, Ferrari. So I give this one a 9 since it did die down towards the end a bit, but you guys were a bit harsher since you gave it an 8, but that's still good enough for me. Spain time, and I have a confession to make. I also didn't see this race live, but that's because I was getting ready to go watch the IndyCar race at Laguna Seca, so cut me some slack. Anyways, that George move at turn 1 was something special, and there was some decent action here and there, but it came in phases, so I give this one a 6, while you guys give it your old reliable number. Oh boy, Austria. Of course, this race would see Max and Lando crash like idiots and see George Russell taking his first win of the season, alongside a podium full of drivers wondering how they even got there. While this sounds fun, it really wasn't, since the other bits were just dull racing, so it suffered a bit from the Imola syndrome, so it gets a 6 from me, while you guys gave it an 8. Why not no wheel chat? Anyways, Silverstone, and with rain in the air, this race was always gonna bang, and bang it did. This race saw Lewis back on the top step after tricky conditions plagued everyone, which was to our amusement since these guys driving like idiots is always fun to watch. So I give this one a 9, while you guys went a step further and gave it a 10. Very reasonable, I must say. Now for Hungary, and in recent years, this race has seen action, and this year was no different. We had the birth of Papaya Fools, Lewis surviving a war, and Verstappen crashing with Lewis again. So overall, good fun, and it warrants an 8 from me and from you. Spa time, and I have always been a defender for this track. This track isn't boring or incompatible with F1, it just needs a tight grid, and this year had just that, which gave us a race all the way to the end since the top 3 finished within 1 second of each other. We also saw George pull a 200 IQ strat to win the race, but he also kind of shot himself in the process, which gave Lewis the win anyways. So a cool little 8 is reasonable, me thinks, and you think too. Summer break is over, which means Zandvoort is the place to be in, and other than a classic Lando bottle, nothing, like literally nothing. So it gets a 3 for me, and for you, it's a 6, which is like way too generous, but whatever. Monza would be amazing. Was the racing good? Kinda, but the end of it was amazing. Am I biased to see this Charles win? Yes. Am I willing to give it a high score because of this? Yes. So here is another 9, but somehow y'all are more biased than me since you guys gave this race another 10. Baku time, and this race is really F1's wild card. We either see snoozers or absolute chaos, and thankfully we got the latter this year. We had overtakes, cheating allegations, and a late lap crash, which indirectly cost us the constructors, so this one is another 9 from me, while you guys gave it an 8. Singapore was extremely boring. You call yourself a Singapore F1 fan? Fine. Name every overtake in the 2024 Singapore Grand Prix. See, you can't. A flat 2 for me is reasonable, but what the hell are you guys smoking? No offense, but a 6? Huh? Whatever, we have Coda now, and we'd see a classic Coda banger. We had overtakes, penalties, and controversy, so I think a nice 8 is in check, and so do you guys. Mexico was pretty boring, but looking back, it wasn't that bad since there was plentiful action, especially in the beginning laps, so yeah, a 6 seems reasonable for me, and for you, you guys think a 7 is fair, which I think so too. Brazil is a 10. Is anyone denying it? I don't think so, since we saw a weird grid, amazing driving, and drivers thinking differently. So again, a 10 is fair, and you guys agree since 81% of you guys voted 10 too. Damn. I'm biased, guys, but since I was in Vegas, I have to give this one a 10 since it was an amazing experience seeing these cars for the first time. You guys aren't far off either since 29% say it was an 8, so we're getting along now. See, this is great. Qatar would be the most boring, chaotic race ever. There were crashes, and more crashes, which led to Zhou getting points and thousands of people being scammed out of $10,000. Wonder who let that happen. Anyways, I give Qatar an 8, while you guys think a 7 is more fitting. Now finally, Abu Dhabi. Abu Dhabi was actually pretty fun considering the track and all its dog shittery since we saw Max collide once more and saw McLaren win the battle over Ferrari. So I give this race a 7, and so do you guys. What a great season, and if trends look likely to continue, 2025 is about to be a whole lot better. Anyways, now for what I imagine most people clicked on here for, my driver ratings as well as yours. Also no Jack Doohan, by the way, since he only drove once. So let's begin, and the worst driver this year is undoubtedly Logan Sargent. Look, I love the guy, but he crashed a whole damn lot, and when he didn't even stink a mid, he stuck a trash, so a flat 1 is appropriate, and you guys think so too. But I do want to quickly point out how the third most voted score was a 10 with 8%, and that's pretty funny considering most drivers have less than 8% on that number. Anyways, in 22nd place, I have He Who Shall Not Be Named, and he's always a token bad driver in the grid since what does bro even do? He pulls up and does what Logan does, but in a better car, so I give him a 1 again, and so do you guys. Now for my 21st place, and I have Zhou here since while he did get Sauber's only points, looking at the entire season, this one is definitely his worst. He was just slow year round and made 0 mark on anything this year until Qatar, but he definitely wasn't bad all the time since again, those points. So I give him a 3, while you guys were generous by giving him a 5. If this is you trying to get your 10K, I already said to drop it. Anyways, for my 20th pick, I choose Checo Perez, and rest in peace, man. I will forever love Checo for what he's done for Mexico and its representation, but it really is time to go. A good start doesn't outweigh all the damage he has caused this year, so I give him another 3 while you guys give him a 1. Fair, I guess. Now for my 19th pick, and I have Valtteri Bottas since he really was done dirty this year. He should have some points, but doesn't, unfortunately, since that green piece of shit was probably slower than a literal green piece of shit, and it really doesn't do justice to Valtteri's season. He outperformed it a lot and was always kind of close to the points, but never had the circumstances to get them, so I give him a 4 while you guys gave him a 5. Anyways, 18th, and I have Ricciardo here, and before anyone gets mad at me, it hurts me too. He was one of the drivers that got me into the sport, and his farewell was handled really weird and disrespectful considering what he has done for the sport. Now that that is out the way, this guy was horrible. He got obliterated to retirement by Yuki and was painfully slow this year. Yeah, he did get compromised by the team a lot, but he was still very slow. He did show glimpses here and there like in Miami or Canada, which heavily skew this ranking, but still, slow. So I think a 5 is fitting, and so do you guys. Moving on to my 17th pick, and I have Liam Lawson, and he did have an impressive season considering he only had 6 races, but he did have a very hot head, especially when it came to Alonso and Perez for some reason. And all I'm saying is, if Yuki acted that way, the media would be saying how he's like the literal devil or something. Anyways, Liam did have good performances, but also very unnecessary crashes. So for that, I'm giving him a 6, and you guys agree again. Isn't this amazing how we're agreeing with each other for once? Now we have Albon next up for my 16th pick, and he did good, he did bad, I don't know. He was very calm this season. He performed when he did and sucked when he did, but he never was laughably bad for a lot of the season and kept his head clean most times. So for that, I give him another 6, and guys, stop being so awesome. You agree too. Next in 15th, I have Esteban Ocon, and in all honesty, he should be much higher considering Brazil and the other times he outperformed Gasly this season, but something happened post-Coda. This guy was so trash. Gasly was in the top 7 all the time while Ocon was nowhere near the points. I personally think he was sabotaged, but that's another discussion. His late season does not reflect his early and mid season, so for that, I give him a 6, and stop it. You're really flattering me now, guys. Next for 14th, I have Franco Colapinto, and considering he only had 8 races to prove himself, I think he did just that. No one expected him to do good, yet he was matching Albon more often than not, and even though the ending wasn't the best, he showed himself as worthy of F1 in my opinion. So I think another 6 is fitting, but all good things come to an end since you guys disagreed and gave him a 7. A little generous in my opinion, but we move. 13th, I have K-Mag. Was he a dog? Yes. Was he a little careless this season? Yes. Do I still love him? Of course I do. You call it idiotic driving, I call it peak racing. And even aside from that, he performed well on multiple occasions this season, like in Qatar. And yeah, I think another 6 is fitting, and so do you guys. Now for my 12th pick, and I have Ollie Behrman, and hear me out. Am I biased again? Yes, but how could I not be? I have watched this guy since his F4 days. He's part of the Ferrari Academy and is my age. I have to support him, and I really can't wait to see what he does next year at Haas. So I give him a 7, and so do you guys. For 11th, I have Gasly, since while he was certainly a top 5 driver at the end of the season, the early and middle part of the season saw the worst version appear. He was nowhere compared to Ocon, and talks were happening of his future. And even though the generational lock-in saved him, the duck remembers. So I give him a 7, while you guys give him an 8. Fair enough, I'll take that. Now for my top 10 drivers of the season, and for 10th, I have Yuki Tsunoda. Yuki was on fire this season. I would say consistently throughout the season, he outperformed the V-Carb and proved he was enough for Red Bull in my opinion. Like I said in this video, it's probably going to be Liam, but it really should be Yuki since, come on, he deserves it at this point. Plus, he has outperformed both teammates he's had this season, and that is no easy feat, so I give Yuki an 8, while you guys think a 7 is more fitting. Don't push your luck, chat. For 9th, I have Fernando Alonso, since how this guy outperformed that green tractor, I don't know. I genuinely believe that if Aston had the same pace from 2023 still, Alonso would have won at least one race, since when that car was ready to get out in Q1, Alonso would put it 8th on the grid, and when that car was ready to finish 13th place, Alonso would finish in 7th place, and I think that speaks volume to me. So I give him another 8, while you guys give him another 7. You're pushing your luck now, chat. For 8th place, I have Lewis Hamilton, and a couple of wins plus mighty drives doesn't make me forget about the P. Hamilton curse plus the terrible, horrible races this year. Lewis was never mid this year. He was only either bad or one of, if not the best on track. No in-betweens. Enough said, really. So I give him an 8, while you guys were harsher and gave him a 7. Fair enough, I'm not mad. For 7th place, I have Nico Hulkenberg, and what an amazing season he's had. Genuinely, this season might be a top 3 in his entire career. He outperformed the Haas and stuck it in places it should never even looked at. He scored good points, and even though he had a couple races where he was pretty bad, I think the good he did greatly outweighs the bad. So I think another 8 is in check, and you guys think so too. For my 6th pick, I choose Oscar Piastri, and he has a lot left to learn still. Yes, he got rid of the tire wear problem, which is good, but now he needs consistency and more pace. Currently, if he were never to improve, I don't think he has it in him to win a title since he needs to be faster and needs to have better racecraft. But still, 2 wins and many podiums is amazing for a driver in their 2nd year. So again, yet another 8 from me, and you guys agree yet again too. 5th place, and I have Carlos Sainz, and I thought he was pretty good this season. He definitely lacked consistency again since there were races where he probably should have done better, but he still did well with 2 race wins and 9 podiums. So again, another 8, and again for you guys, another 8. 4th place, and I have George Russell, and what a mighty leap forward this year. Next year could see him even better, which gets me excited since this year he already showed great pace and consistency and is probably nearing his peak. Another 8 for him and another 8 from you guys too. Now for our top 3, and we start with Lando Norris. Lando had a good season since he did nab up pole positions and won 4 races, but when you considered he bottled a lot of the poles and was in a supposed title fight with Max, this ain't the best look for him. Plus, he made many mistakes like in Brazil and almost crashed in Singapore, but still, he showed mighty pace and we should honestly keep an eye out for him next season since I think he will come back massively. So I give Lando an 8 since he really should have done more this season, and you guys seem to agree too. 2nd place, and I have Charles Leclerc, and in my opinion, this was by far his best season to date. 3 wins and 13 podiums in the 3rd fastest car for most of the season should be respected, and when that car eventually ramped up in pace, he locked the hell in and tried his absolute best to carry Ferrari to the Constructors' title, which he almost did. It really is a shame what happened from Canada to Silverstone, but I do believe next year we'll not see anything like that again because right now, Charles is entering his peak. Plus with Lewis as a teammate, I really think we'll see a new demon next year. So I give him a 9 for the season and you guys agree too. 1st place now, and it's obviously Max Verstappen. Despite the amazing start, he still won races and got on the podium a lot in the 2nd, 3rd, sometimes 4th fastest car on the grid and showed why he is unrivaled. There's not much to say since when it comes to racing, he is unstoppable, and say what you want about his standards and crashing, the man is not an idiot and is a true racing driver through and through. A 10 is only fitting, and you guys think the same as well. To be honest, all the drivers this season with the exception of like 3 or 4 were really good and put up very respectable performances, and yeah, again, what a season. Now let's get to the bonus awards chosen by yours truly. I will award 5 different awards to certain drivers for certain things, starting with the most likely to be fired next year award, and our nominees are Lance Stroll, Gabby Bortoleto, and Alex Albon, and the winner is Lance Stroll. What's that? $4 billion? Okay, I'll take it. Our winner is Alex Albon, since if he gets demolished by Sainz next year, I know Williams are itching to get Colapinto back on the grid, so drive with one eye open next year, Alex. Now for the Best Sandcastles Award, which is awarded to the driver who spent the most time in the gravel, and I don't need a list nominees since we know Checo won this one, so moving on. Next, we have the Biggest Winner Award, which is awarded to those who have won against the most amount of people, and our nominees are Max Verstappen, Lando Norris, or Charles Leclerc, so the winner is the secret 4th option, Max Verstappen's baby. Moving on, we have the Sargo Award, which is given to the person who drove most like Logan Sargent, and again, the winner is obvious, so our winner is Checo Perez again. And finally, our last award is a serious one, and it is the Duck Door, which is given to the best driver of the 2024 season, and our nominees are Max Verstappen, Charles Leclerc, or Lando Norris, and the winner of the 2024 Duck Door is Lionel Messi. And those were my 2024 Formula One ratings. Man, oh man, 2025 better be good is all I'm saying, because no way the alley-oop that's being set up right now isn't gonna happen. Anyways, I've yapped about 2025 a lot already, so with that, the 2024 season is officially done. We enter the Formula Duck offseason, which now means you can expect more videos about general topics related to F1 and next year, and maybe a few special videos here and there until Formula Duck Season 2 gets underway, starting with my 2025 predictions, which should be uploaded around January or February. So in the meantime, stay for the offseason, big things are coming. Anyways, I want to give a quick shout out to all members of the flock for their continued support. And remember, if you want to see videos early and get some more cool benefits, make sure to join it since it also really helps me out. Anyways, if you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to like and subscribe for better content, and make sure to let me know in the comments what your ratings are. And as always, have an amazing day.
Good weather for the duck.